Let's roll.
All right, here we go.
Yeah.
All right, and we are here once again. As we ride this planet ship called Earth, we are now joined by Travis Burgess, the artist for PLASMAworlds, A Love That Hurts. How are you today, Travis?
I'm doing fantastic.
All right, well, it's fantastic to have you here. Now, I want to start off by introducing you to our audience. Can you let people know your name, a little about you, where you grew up, and where you currently reside?
My name is Travis Burgess. I'm currently living in South Carolina. I'm a 21-year-old freelancer. I do illustrations and character designs for different people, for different projects. That's kind of it for me on that one.
All right, very cool, very cool. Well, can we talk about some of your artistic influences? And we'll be showing art throughout the interview. But is there work that inspires you?
Oh man, that's a tough question because there's a lot of artists I really liked.
Okay,
So,
do we got a top three, baby?
a top three? Oh, that's even harder.
Oh, okay.
I would say the people who inspired me the most throughout the time I did digital art at the age of 14 is probably C.T. Chrysler, Jim Lee, and Nafisha Tung, who also goes by Dye Me Like a Sunset. But those are like the top three that influenced me.
Okay, well, I'm writing those names down. The only name I'm familiar with is, of course, Jim Lee, because he's a legend in his own right.
Yeah.
And I know I'm going to be a comic book artist, and I wanted to ask you, because your visual style is so cinematic, if you took a lot of influence from comic book artists.
Oh, most definitely. Recently, I've been very much like into early American illustrators and artists back in the 19th to 20th century. So I'm also taking their influence as well, like Norman Rockwell, Lee Schaefer, John Singer Sargent, and like the way they present their art and illustrations. I kind of want to like do that in my own work as well.
Absolutely. I mean, even with you mentioning somebody like Norman Rockwell, the amount of information in the art and what he's giving you is so visually stimulating. It's like you're finding things, much like with your work, you find things, the more you look at it, the more you go over it. And so I can definitely see those influences. Very, very cool. Now, you mentioned digital art, but with your process, do you go straight to digital, or do you freehand drawings first, or what's your process?
When I first started out, I used to like do a lot of my sketches in my sketchbook, but now I just go straight to digital. And yeah.
Very cool, very cool. And can we let the young artists out there listening? Are there programs you specifically like? What sketchpad do you use? What kind of materials do you use to execute?
When I first started out, I would say Paint Toolside being like the first software I ever used. But now over the years, I mainly just use Clip Studio Paint and then sometimes Photoshop for editing. And those are like my two main software.
Because I got to tell you, the textures and just some of the techniques you use when I'm looking at the art, and this will lead into the next question. I'm looking at a picture of Boy Pilo now, where she's activating or interfacing with her own sort of screen, with her. And the way you portray it and the imagery that you see is not only believable and seems like it's only a few years off, but it's stuff I want. Where do you pull references from? Where do you pull inspiration from visually? How do you imagine this future so vividly?
Anywhere and all places, really. I do love watching and reading a lot of sci-fi myself, so I have like a plethora of like visual libraries to pick from and have its own little twists to it.
I love that. I love you talking about visual libraries. It's something that all of my favorite artists talk about. building that visual library and practicing so that when it's necessary, you can bring these things to the forefront with ease. Now, another thing that I loved is Anwar's words along with your art create such a vivid world. Can you talk about what it's like to work with Anwar and how you take his words to create this world? There's certain things that you do where we're hearing about a character running and you see this foot. And even though it's just this static picture of a foot, there's so much movement and so much understanding and so much that you put into this one little frame. How do you choose what to illustrate?
Okay, so first off,
a lot there. I'm sorry. That was a whole lot.
Yeah, that was a lot. But first, I want to say, like, Anwar has a brilliant mind. So when he writes out a scene, he goes very much into detail about the scene. So for me, like, I already have like a couple of scenes in my head to work it out. And so for me, when I first like read his prompts, I reread them. I generally take notes in my notebook, and I already like have like maybe a couple of thumbnails to work on. I'll probably grab pictures and visual references to move along in my process as well. But like mainly most of the stuff comes from him and his way of describing everything is amazing.
Okay, all right. I like that, and that's what it takes. It sounds like the communication between you two is also really good.
Yeah.
And even looking in the art, I mean, at one point you take us, from a 4-post bed on a mountaintop surrounded by clouds to what I may say is probably my favorite image of the whole thing, which is a robot skull being crushed into the pavement.
Oh, yeah.
Oh man, it's such a joy to look at, and then along with the story, it's so cinematic. I absolutely love it. It's less of a question, more of a compliment.
Thank you.
Now, the visual style that you do use, it is very, very raw and reflects the story. Does your visual style change depending on what the story holds?
Most definitely. Generally, every artist have like different types of styles they go through, and the people generally, like a client or so, would ask for a very specific style that they want to see, and then I would just like work on that and gets feedback for them to see if they like the style or not, and I would do that sort of style. So like for this one, yeah, definitely is a very different from like PLASMAworlds itself. So the style is very much more of a sketchy, rough sort of style, and it definitely fits the story of what's going.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. I think it fits so well. Besides the skull being crushed into the pavement, and if you want to know what I'm talking about, make sure you check out PLASMAworlds on Medium.
Yeah, I definitely know what you're talking about. Honestly, that was one of my favorite ones.
And for the audience, if you want to see what we're talking about, check out PLASMAworlds on Media.com.
They really should.
It is a feast for the eyes and the imagination. It definitely takes you to a believable future. And I want to compliment you again. Even some of the other drawings that aren't so action-packed, there's a picture of Zika's ex that you drew, and they are in what I can assume is just a future comfort chair that looked like something I'd want today. He looked too comfortable.
The gamer chair of the future.
The gamer chair was awesome. It was next level, man. And I want to thank you for that. It was so cool. It was very cool.
Someone should make that chair for me. I would definitely buy it.
Yeah, you have something there, without a doubt. Now, I want to thank you for taking the time to talk to us today. Can you please let the audience know where they can find your art and explore more of the worlds that you create.
Sure, no problem. All my socials are BDT Trace, which is a BDTTRAS. I'm mainly on Instagram. I sometimes do live streams on Twitch as well, and I do have an art station.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, listen, we have reached the interview end. I have been very excited to talk to you. I want to thank you again for putting this out into the world. Giving it something new to check out. It is truly a feast for the eyes, and we look forward to what you're working on next. And in fact, I'm not really supposed to do this, but I heard you were actually already doing some artwork for the Woldu storyline. Is that true?
Yes, I am.
Okay. And can you give us a little about that? What do you think about the character? I've seen some of the worlds you're creating, and it's only getting better. What do you think about the character Woldu, and where?
Oh, I think the world is amazing. I don't know what anyone does, but like he just like opens your mind to like all sorts of like concepts that I couldn't imagine myself. So this world is definitely something to look into. Definitely check it out when it's released. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, this has been great. Like Travis just said, make sure you check out PLASMAworlds. I am Blane Pierre. Thank you again, Travis, and we are signing out from PLASMAworlds.